Hey everybody, my name is Jackie and I'm the Director of Public Relations here at the Houston Zoo. You may be wondering why I'm talking to you and not talking about this beautiful rhino behind me, but we wanted to share some really good news with each and every one of you. We are so proud to be announcing our opening date with you today. We will be opening on June 3rd. Now things are going to look a little bit different when we open. We will have a one-way pass. Every single visitor must have a ticket to enter. We're doing timed entries. You can find out all about our reopening on our website at houstonzoo.org. But remember, we're going to open June 3rd. We will have a Facebook Live on Friday to answer all of your questions. If you have a couple, I'll be back at the end of the Facebook Live to answer them. But a Facebook Live all about our reopening. But for now, I think you guys probably want to know more about George. So I'll bring in my friend John here, who's a Zookeeper, and he will tell you all about him.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining us here. As Jackie said, we're going to be hanging out with our main man here, George. We actually have a very special treat for everybody that's watching today. In fact, we're going to be giving George a bath today. So we're going to be doing kind of a demo on how we do all of our baths here at the Houston Zoo with our rhinos. So we're going to be shifting George into an area that we call the chute. That's a training chute. So we do a lot of awesome procedures there. So we're going to be shifting George from his area right here into that chute, and then we'll get started on bath time. So as we're kind of shifting and getting him ready, we're going to be talking about all things rhino. So George specifically is a southern white rhino. He, as long as other rhinos, are herbivores, so they are plant eaters. So Heather and Tim are my coworkers here. They're going to be showing you how we shift him in. So he's eating some alfalfa right now, so that's a special treat that they like to really enjoy during training sessions and things like that. So we treat bath time kind of like a fun training session. So Tim's going to be shifting him into the chute area. He's going to be opening that door. Heather's already got some treats ready for him. So as he comes in, you'll notice that he's going to be walking across a big metal plate. And that big metal plate that he's going to be walking across is actually their scale. So it's a way for us to get them I was describing George as being a big boy. He weighs currently around 4,200 pounds or so. So as he's checking for the he's going to hopefully make his way around. There he goes. So age, which is just considered sub-adult, so he's not quite grown yet. So he's still on the growing path. So we're currently at around 4,200 pounds. He's probably around 800 pounds grown. So adult male white rhinos will generally weigh around. So one cool if Rachel wants to focus over here, scale here. So that plate standing on, you can see how much he weighs right there. That's in kilos. So we'll convert that to pounds by multiplying that by 2.2, and you'll see he's a little over 14 pounds. So coworker over here, Tim's going to be sitting back. So we've got a hose over here. Heather's going to be keeping that nice positive. He's getting these nice, awesome as Tim's kind of starting. Always start it nice and gentle, starting around their feet and in their back area to kind of let them know that's what's happening today. And you can see he's enjoying that pretty much right away. Be getting this can do it. We don't necessarily do it on the daily, but we do it fairly regularly. It's a great way for us to kind of take a look at them, get a look at them all the way from nose to tail, making sure that everything is good for them. So we check for any things like any wounds or any things like that that they might have gotten throughout the day, so we can treat it. It's also a great way for us to check on their feet. So we can take his feet. You'll notice he has 3 toes on each foot. Rhinos are kind of as an odd-toed ungulate. So that means that they have an odd number of toes, and that their toes end in those hooves. So you can see they've got those big toenails. They are hooves. So if you were to put on your X-ray glasses, you'd actually see the skeletal system. Those are actually up on their tippy toes. So he's like a 1,000-pound ballerina, in fact. So these guys walk around on those hooves and have a big sponge tissue right at the back of their foot. So as he's walking around, that big weight that he is carrying around is actually dispersed over a larger area. And so he's able to kind of walk around and be actually quite agile on those tippy toes that he's got. And so Tim's working on hooves nice and cleaned out right now. You guys can see a nice good look at those fun feet that he's got. So earlier I was talking about them being odd-toed ungulates. So there's a couple other animals that are also odd-toed ungulates. So horses are an odd-toed ungulate, as well as tapirs. So horses, tapirs, and rhinos are all each other's living relatives. And they're all kind of similar in the fact that they are all herbivores, large, and have those hooved feet. Helen has a question. How tough is a rhino's skin? That's a great question, Helen. So the reason that we're giving him a bath is because he's generally covered in mud. And that mud is actually a nice protective layer. So even though their skin is very thick and fairly tough, they are sensitive to a few things, including the sun's rays, overheating, and some biting insects. So that nice layer of mud that they get on them is that nice protective layer that really helps to protect their skin. So even though they are thick-skinned, they are somewhat sensitive to that.
Hey guys, I know we've got some audio issues. People are so we are going to take a minute while you keep watching George get his bath and try to get that audio fixed. Keep sending those questions to us though.
All right, so we'll try without the microphone for right now. Hopefully you all can hear me all right. So as we're continuing the bath, we'll take a look at some of the other features on George here. One of those features is those big ears that he's got. One of the easiest ways to tell our rhinos apart, in fact, is by the shape of their ears. So the reason that we can tell that this is George right away is you see those big skin flaps right at the tips of his ears. He kind of has an elf ear look to that. So that's the easiest way for you to tell if it's George or not. So when you come back to the zoo and you're walking around by the rhinos, you can actually tell right away which one's George just by looking at those big elf-shaped ear tips that he's got going on right there. Obviously, one of the biggest features that rhinos have is that horn that he's displaying so nicely right there. What horn for rhinos, what rhino horn is made out of is actually something very common. Everybody has it all over them. It's either going to be your fingernails or your hair, and that is a protein called keratin. So keratin is what makes up rhino horn as well. So it's not bone, it's also not ivory, and what it is the same stuff. It's just kind of growing in a little bit differently. So it actually kind of grows more like hair. There are individual fibers that are all growing really close together, and that really tight, compact formation is what gives it its strength. And so that strong horn that they have is very important for them. They use it to defend themselves, and it's for breeding and for fighting and things like that. So they actually use it as kind of like a tool for socializing and getting to each other and things like that. So that's why rhinos have a horn. It's also their defensive weapon. So things like predators can't harm themselves or their possible calves that they're going to be protecting. So for these guys, that horn is very, very important for them. We had a question, I believe it was from Oscar, is asking if rhinos are gentle. So they are overall fairly used to being around people. So our rhinos were all born at a facility in Florida that specializes in breeding endangered species. So they've been around people their whole lives. So they really do enjoy being around people. So overall, our rhinos are doing a great job about being around people. So they are fairly gentle. They also have a really big positive interaction with just enjoying our company and things like that. So we're going to be transitioning to end of bath time. We're going to be bringing George into the barn so you guys can see him up close and a little bit more personal. So we're going to be shifting him in right now. So he's going to be leaving that training chute area and he's going to be coming into the stalls. So as he's going, you'll notice that he's going to pick up as much of that alfalfa as he possibly can. So that alfalfa is a nice little treat that we give them. It is a little bit more rich than their normal diet is going to be made up of. And so they're really interested in that alfalfa. So as he comes in, he's going to be getting some treats along the way. Just reinforcing the fact that he did such a great job throughout that whole process. So once he's in that far stall over there, we're going to be able to get up there and a little bit more close and personal with him. So their main diet, as we were discussing earlier, as grazers is hay. So they eat a lot of that hay throughout the day. So we had a question about their socializing. Ashley had a question about, do they live in groups in the wild? The answer to that is kind of yes and no. It depends on the rhino. So male rhinos, like George here, tend to be a little bit more solitary. So it wouldn't be uncommon for them in the wild to be more or less by themselves throughout the day. And so females, on the other hand, do like to live in groups. And a herd of rhinos is called a crash. So we're going to be showing you guys some pretty fun up-close behaviors. That first one was an open mouth behavior. So the training that we do here at the Houston Zoo is really important for a lot of different reasons. It does build up a nice rapport with the keeper staff and those animals, building those nice relationships. It also helps us a lot as far as maintaining their health. And so the behavior that we were just asking is the open mouth behavior. It's the easiest way for us to access the mouth of a rhino, and they can do that voluntarily. We had a question about their horn earlier from April, and that was, do rhinos wear their horns down over time? The answer to that is absolutely, April. So one of the things that you can see, if you look at the very tops of his horns, you'll see those kind of rubbed down areas in the front of his horn, and that's where they like to rub their horn. So earlier we were discussing the structure of their horn is keratin. And so they mainly do a lot of that rubbing after their horn has gotten wet. And so if you take a shower or a bath and you get out, or if you've been in the pool for a while, your nails get a lot softer. The same thing happens to their horn. So if they've been wallowing around in the mud, or if it's been raining overnight or something like that, their horn gets a lot softer and it's a lot easier for them to rub it on things like rocks or trees or branches or mud. Or here at the zoo, they like to rub it on some of the bars that you'll see around here. So they maintain their horns themselves, and it's really important that they do that because that keratin structure is, like we said, a little bit more like hair. So if they don't rub it and maintain it, it'll actually kind of fluff out, sort of like a very old toothbrush that you have. If you've used it for too long and you haven't really maintained it, it's going to poof out. Debbie wants to know is if they have good vision. So you can see his beautiful eye right here. If we get nice and good vision of it, you'll actually see that it has a blue ring around it, but it's a brown eye. They actually don't rely on their eyesight very much. They can see, they're not blind. However, the main sense that they utilize is their sense of hearing and their sense of smell. So Heather, our other coworker that we haven't mentioned yet, is going to be moving George around the stall a little bit so you can see what he looks like as he's moving around. So one of the things that is really interesting when we talked about their feet earlier is you can see kind of their feet squish out when they step on it. So once they put a lot of weight on there, that soft spongy tissue that's on the back side of their foot is what really disperses that weight around. And you guys can see that as he's walking around. Rhinos are actually also surprisingly agile. They're fairly light on their feet for being so big. And so one of the things we definitely want to talk about is where we are. So we're in the rhino barn right now. So this is not a visible thing for most people when they come to the zoo. You'll see the rhinos out on exhibit. So this is a fun special treat that we wanted to share with you all here with our Facebook Live. So We do have this barn, and it is an awesome barn. It's a good space for them. So they generally are spending most of their time out on exhibit. However, if it's cold or stormy or something like that, we will be able to bring them in here for shelter and safety. So another thing that we wanted to talk about for sure is the fact that you are all amazing rhino conservationists every time you come to the zoo or support us online. Rhinos are a threatened species, so that means that their populations are kind of dwindling a little bit in the wild. However, like we said, you guys are amazing rhino conservationists. We have partner organizations throughout the range countries for these animals, and it's really helping to protect the habitat, doing habitat restoration and purchasing of land, as well as providing safety in the form of rangers that are dedicated staff members out there putting their lives on the line to help save these animals every single day. And your support goes to help purchase things like vehicles and training and equipment. So you are all, like I said, amazing rhino conservationists around the world. Sally has a question as to how long their lifespan is. So George, like we said, is around 9 years old, so he's still fairly young. It would not be uncommon for rhinos to live into their 30s or even into their 40s. So he's still a nice young boy right now. Generally speaking, they don't have a lot of predators after they reach a certain age. So when rhinos are very first born, they're born after a gestation period of about 16 months. So that's a pretty long gestation period. So 9 months doesn't seem so bad for the moms that we've got listening and watching right now. So 16 months after that, that pregnancy is over, that calf's going to be born. It's going to be around 90 to 120 pounds, which sounds pretty big. However, they are still on the menu for a lot of those big African predators. Things like lions and hyenas could certainly take down a calf. So moms are very protective of those calves. So the female is going to be protecting that calf for even up to 2 years as it develops and gets a little bit bigger. And then they kind of develop into a different social structure at that point. So we said that big mature males are a little bit more solitary. Younger males tend to live in groups. And so they form these little bachelor groups. And then the females generally stay with those maternal herds as well. Tunji asked if they are related to hippos. The answer is not really that closely related to hippos. So they are big and they are kind of barrel shaped. But like we said earlier, they're actually related to things like horses and tapirs. So they are not closely related to hippos. So we're going to toss it over to Jackie for a few more seconds here as she's going to have some questions to answer. So here's Jackie.
Hey guys, for those of you who may have missed it, at the onset of our Facebook Live event today, we announced that we will be opening to the public on June 3rd. Now, we have made quite a bit of changes to the format of how you will visit the zoo. And the first thing that you'll need to remember is that all guests must have an entry ticket to come to the zoo, and you make those online. That includes our members and our regular guests. You must get a time ticket, 3 day parts online at houstonzoo.org. We've also established a one-way path throughout the zoo that will get you to see some of your favorite animals, including the rhinos here. So be sure to look at our map online as well to find out what animals you will encounter during your new zoo visit. The tickets, you might be wondering, when can I register or buy my time ticket? That starts tomorrow at noon. So Wednesday at noon, you can go online. If you're a member, you'll log in just like you would to get your extra tickets that you might want. Log in and reserve your day parts and your day times. And for general admission tickets, just go ahead and purchase your tickets. You'll be asked if you want to come morning, midday, or afternoon. And we're asking people to do that so that we can encourage a little bit more social distancing. All of our staff will be wearing masks for your safety, our safety, and the animal safety. And we're requesting that folks visiting, but not requiring, but we do highly encourage our visitors to wear them as well. We've really upped our game in the cleanliness, of course, as everyone is right now. We are spending a lot of time in high-touch areas. If you have questions about our reopening, please visit us on Friday for the Facebook Live at 11, where we'll be answering all of your questions about what the new zoo experience will be like. And again, tickets are available starting tomorrow at noon. We reopen to the public on June 3rd, and if you're a member, we have something else special for you. We are doing a member preview next Monday and Tuesday. That's June 1st and June 2nd. So members, again, you must get that time ticket, but you're gonna get in before anybody else. Again, thanks for joining us to this Facebook Live, and I hope you learned a lot from our friend George and our friend John. If you are able to, we would love to have your support. We have an emergency zoo fund. As you know, we have been closed for 2 months, over 2 months now. And all of your visitation really helps us to feed the animals and take care of our employees. So if you're able to, we have established an emergency zoo fund at houstonzoo.org. And we'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. for another Facebook Live. But again, if you have questions specifically regarding our reopening, check our website. And also tune in on Friday for a very specific Facebook Live. See you later.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll hopefully see you very soon here at the Houston Zoo.